Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Danis of Capital Athletics, and this is part one of the Capital Women's Basketball Podcast. And joining me now, the head coach of the Capital Women's Basketball Program, head coach Dixie Jeffers. Coach, we're going to use this podcast as a moment to get to know you a little bit. I understand you come from a small town by the name of Mount Victory, Ohio. How did growing up in Mount Victory impact you as a person?
Well, population 500. It impacted my entire life because I grew up with 6 brothers and a sister 5 miles out in the country. We were farmers, and for recreational, you better get in with your brothers and play every sport that they were in, or you're going to get left behind, and that is not my MO, because I'm not going to be left behind in anything. So I picked up a basketball early in my career. I picked up a lot of different things athletically, and it was fun. I didn't think it was work, and things came naturally for me, and the guys always picked me to play during recess, so it was a good thing.
Were there any players, any coaches growing up that led you to join in the game of basketball?
There were absolutely no mentors, because when I am dating myself now, when I came along, basketball in the state of Ohio had not even happened yet. It happened my 8th grade year in junior high, and my school waited to my freshman year so they could start the basketball team.
So you go on to Morehead State in Kentucky. What did you take away from your experience there at Morehead State?
Well, Morehead was a great opportunity. I was surrounded by incredible people. I think my experience at Morehead, the education was solid, but the people made me and shaped my life to go forward. My coach was pretty hard-nosed, and he was very demanding, so there were a lot of things that he did that shaped my life, but there was a lot of things that he did that I didn't like that shaped my life to move me forward of how I wanted to coach young women.
From there, you end up spending 3 seasons at Rio Grande. Now, not out west, New Philadelphia, Ohio, but you spent 3 seasons there. What did you take away from your time with the Red Storm, and how did that impact you in your development as a head coach?
Well, when we were down there, we were called Red Men and Red Women. And when I was there, I was 22 years old, so I was a year older than my seniors. So what I took away from there is much differently than what I brought here. Great opportunity. To be 22 years old and named a head coach is phenomenal. And my mentors there were men. The assistant men's basketball coach was a huge mentor to me. My husband now was a student assistant, and he was a mentor to me too, because we collaborated all the time, and that's not how we got married and why we got married, but it helped because he understood the business and what I wanted to do, and he was very, very supportive of that.
Now we get to the part where you come here to Bexley. You come here to coach at Capital. What drew you to Capital University?
I knew when I was at Rio Grande, it was a stepping stone for me, and I was actually at a basketball camp at Wittenberg under Larry Hunter, and I was working a summer camp for him, and he approached me and said that this position was open, and he said, "Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah, I think I am." And he goes, "Well, I'll recommend you." And not thinking that anything would come out of it, I went ahead and sent my resume, and voila, 29 years I've stayed here, and it was great because I was 27 when I came here, and a lot of people thought I was so young and wasn't ready, and I inherited such a great program that just came off a 3rd place finish in the country, and my charge was to keep it on a national level. And it was interesting how people at Rio were so accepting of my age, and it didn't really matter. And it was interesting when I came here that you were judged a little bit more, that you weren't old enough. So I felt the cards were stacked against me a little bit because I was taught in the business never to follow a successful coach, and I followed a very successful coach in Lori Pirtle. And that was always in the back of my mind, but I wanted to do things my way, and I did do things my way, and I was determined to keep this program on a national level, and we've done that, and I've been very, very blessed. It's not because of my ability, it was the ability for me to recruit and surround myself with players.
The 1990s roll around, and boy, what a heck of a decade. Back-to-back national championships in 94 and 95, 4 Final Four appearances. What made those teams so good?
Well, the kids. I mean, I had the horses, and I had kids that could be driven and challenged, and if you look at what they're doing personally today, they're still so successful. I mean, I'm not going to tell you it was easy, but it was easy because those kids were successful in the classroom. They're successful now that they've left Capital, they continue to instill that into their kids, into their everyday lives of what they do. It's amazing. It's amazing how blessed I have been with the people in my life, and I can't say that enough.
What are your favorite memories from that golden decade, so to speak?
I think everybody says the national championships, and you know, let me tell you something, they were awesome. But I think the relationships that the kids have with one another, because my age wasn't too far removed from them, I didn't have the relationship with them that I have with my kids now. And that's fine because I had to work that way. To stay in this business, you have to learn to adjust and revolve and keep changing. And I think the constant has been the type of kid that we've been able to get at Capital. They're just such solid people and human beings and very family oriented, and their work habits in the classroom and their passion for the game has always stayed the same. I think those kids back then would be scholarship kids today, and I knew that at the time, but they chose Capital for the educational part, and they still so love Capital. I just recently have visited with a lot of kids from the 90s, and they love Capital, and their loyalty to here is just crazy, crazy incredible.
I want to piggyback off of that just for a second. When you talk about coaches, the stats that stand out, the wins, the losses, the championships, but reading your bio, one thing that stood out to me, 19 out of the last 20 seasons, you've had at least one player named an academic All-OAC. How proud are you to take a young lady, make her not only a better basketball player, but a better person?
That's huge for me because it's my job. Everybody thinks it's always about the wins and the losses and everything, but it's my job to prepare these young women to be able to go out into society to compete. And it's very, very competitive. And women are looked at today more so, just like men are. You got to be competitive, you got to be good at what you do, you got to have the self-confidence, and you've got to be able to sell yourself. So it's my job to prepare these women how to go and sell themselves, to be successful. And if they want to be just go home and be a mother, that's huge in itself. If they want to be in the workforce, then I want to help them survive in corporate America. But I want to teach my kids that it's okay to be competitive in everything that you do, but pick and choose how you do it.
You've been in this business for a long time. How has collegiate women athletics changed during your time here at Capital, during your time as an NCAA coach?
To make it real brief, when I first came here, the men traveled in a bus everywhere they went. The women had one van. We really didn't have any kind of video that I could find, and I found some video on tape where the guys had all kinds of video. It's changed because of the opportunity. It's changed because women have invested the time to get better. It's changed from a locker room standpoint, from an apparel standpoint. It has changed immensely. Even the rules of the game has changed. But women have evolved, but the one thing I think that has hurt the women's game is that we tend to take things for granted, and they don't understand that it hasn't always looked like this. And we're still a very young sport compared to soccer, compared to tennis, and some other sports, because women just pretty much got granted the opportunity in the mid-70s to say, here you go. And that's not a lot of time to develop a sport. And we grew so quickly that it hurt us in some regards, and we're having some of the pains of it right now, because we need to figure out our identity in women's basketball, and we need to figure it out sooner than later to make the sport as good as it can be.
But you do feel hopeful about the future of the sport going forward?
We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere, but I want to refine it, and I want to make it better, and I want it to be the spectator sport that it was intended to be. And I want women to understand that it is a great sport to play.
So, Christmas, right around the corner. The holiday season's right around the corner. What do the holidays mean to you?
Rest, being able to regroup a little bit, to reflect a little bit on where our team is right now, where we need to go, and to get away from one another to refresh that ability. Family time. Special time with friends and neighbors that I don't ever get to see when I'm in season for that 4.5-month period, and they look for my car to roll in and try to catch me, but they can't because I'm either on the phone recruiting or I'm back in the car going back to recruit again. So it's a time to be thankful, very, very thankful for everything that, and it sounds like a cliche, but I am very, very thankful for my career and the opportunity that Capital has given me.
Well, Before we let you go, Coach, we like to end every podcast episode with a random question of the week. And this week's random question...
Your random questions are always wild, by the way.
Yeah, it has a holiday theme to it. Your most memorable Christmas gift?
That's tough. My most memorable Christmas gift every year still is to be with my kids. To spend it the first time with my kids, to see them come home. I know you thought I was going to make a joke, but it actually is the most memorable is to be able to be with my two kids.
All right. Well, hey, Coach, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
That was head coach Dixie Jeffers joining us here on the first part of the Capital Women's Basketball Podcast. Coming up, we'll be talking with freshman forward Chelsea Pla, getting her thoughts on the season thus far, as well as her thoughts on the upcoming holiday season. Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Danis of Capital Athletics. This is the second half of the Capital Women's Basketball Podcast, and now joining me is the freshman forward from the Capital Women's Basketball team, Miss Chelsea Pla. Chelsea, thanks so much for joining us here. I understand you come from a place called Macedonia, Ohio, up near the Cleveland area. How did that place impact you as a person, as an athlete? Talk a little bit about your hometown.
Well, it's busy. It's like right outside Cleveland, so there's always like things to do. Basketball wise, like I guess I started there with like rec leagues and just small things just to get used to the game and stuff like that. I actually played at Nordonia for a while, and then I transferred to Walsh Jesuit High School, or Walsh Jesuit. So, I mean, it's just there. I guess I don't really know. My hometown.
Was there a specific coach, a specific player that you looked up to that said, "Hey, I really want to play this sport. I want to be like them"?
There's a couple coaches that really stick out in my mind. I guess the first person that really gave me a shot, his name was Bill Muscatello. He had me on his travel team in 6th grade. I wasn't very good at all, kind of barely made it on, but I think he just like said she will work hard, and so he put me on the team, which really helped because I don't think if I had that opportunity, I'd be here today. Just some other coaches that really like saw me as a good player is like Dorian. He has really worked with me over the past couple of years and helped me grow as a person. So there's just like a couple people from that area have really like helped me grow and like giving me a chance.
What's your favorite aspect about the game of basketball? The one thing that keeps you going as a player?
How like intense it can be, but at the same time it's just relaxing, I guess. I really just think about basketball when I'm playing basketball, and like I forget about my grades or any other thing that's going on in my life, and like although it's a challenge, it's like a fun challenge, I guess. So you're always trying something new, you're always working on something new. So
you end up coming here to Capital. What drew you here to Bexley?
I heard about it from a couple people. I decided to just take a look. I liked the Columbus area. 2 hours away seemed good because I could go home, but I could also I could go home when I wanted to, but like just getting like the independence from my parents, I guess, seemed like nice. I like the color purple too.
That's always important.
Exactly. When you're picking a college, you have to look at the colors.
It's all about image. It's all about image. What's it like to play for Coach Jeffers? She's been here for nearly 30 years. I'm sure you get a kick out of working with her in practice, in games, and I'm sure she's fun to be around.
Oh, she is. She's crazy sometimes, but it's fun. I mean, you have to have a coach that's like really motivates you and believes in you, and I like that a lot about her. She just like gets you going, you know, like she's always keeping you, pushing you like one way or another, so I really like that.
One of the interesting aspects about you is your last name. It's spelled P-L-A, and before we started this interview, you were talking with me about the origin of your last name. Can you care to tell Capital fans the origins of your name?
Well, my dad was from Cuba. My grandma moved over here when she was about 20 years old. It's around like the Bay of Pigs and a whole scene between Cuba and America, and so I guess when they came over, they just shortened the name, and it stuck. It's easy for me to remember. It's easy for everyone to remember.
You know, out of curiosity, just recently, President Obama has opened up relations with Cuba. I'm really curious. What does your family think about that?
Oh, my dad I haven't talked to him specifically about it, but he'll probably love it. He wants to go back so badly. and I do too. I want to see it. I want to see what it's like, and maybe he has some like small memories or something from it. I know my grandma was upset. She would rather not have anything to do with it, but I mean, everybody's different with it. And I would just love to see where I came from, I guess.
Back to Capital basketball now. You're a freshman here at Capital. What's been the biggest adjustment going from high school ball to college basketball?
I don't know. I think it's just getting used to the team and playing with new people. Anytime you like switch teams, you're gonna have to learn what people like to do on the court and like what people don't like to do, or how a certain team plays. I mean, I've been playing in high school with the same coach for 4 years, and you get used to a certain pattern. And then when you come to like a new coach, it's going to be a new system, and I think that's like difficult to adjust to sometimes. One
thing that I've noticed while watching you on the basketball court is that you hustle. I was talking with my broadcast partner Jimmy Bloomfield about how sometimes you're a blur. Like 1 minute you're in like one section of the floor, the next minute you flash into the middle of a play, whether it be trying to grab a rebound, trying to keep possession for the team after a near turnover. Where does that hustle, where does that drive come from?
I guess it comes from like your teammates pushing you a lot, and then I guess you want to win, so you're gonna want to like get every rebound or get every loose ball, and like coach really like hammers that into you too. Like if there's a loose ball in practice, you're gonna go after it. Like there's nothing, like you have to earn everything you're gonna get. So even like the smallest things build up too.
You are on a pretty young team. There are only 2 seniors on this team, and Shelby Sheets and Monica Heckman. Everybody else is a freshman, a sophomore, a junior. Do you take your cues from those 2 seniors? How's the leadership work on this team this season?
I think they're good leaders. I think they're calm leaders. I think Shelby Sheets is like she's a person that like proves that like to do something, she proves like what you have to do. She's leads by example, I guess, and I think that's a big part, because I'd rather somebody show me how to do it and like lead me in that way than just telling me what to do. And I think they're both very good at like showing you what to do and how to act in situations, so they're good leaders.
The last game that I saw you guys play last Saturday against Ohio Northern, guys were down by 20 at halftime. There were a lot of teams that would have just laid down and said, we're going to give up, but I think it really speaks to the philosophy that head coach Dixie Jeffers has really built up in this program, that you never give up. You were able to cut that Ohio Northern lead to single digits, weren't able to pull off the win in the end, but what did you take away in that game against the Polar Bears?
I guess you have to start earlier. You have to play harder from the beginning. It takes a lot to just come out and say, we're going to win this, we're going to be the top team here. So unfortunately we came out too late, but it just shows that we have potential to be a very good team when we like want to be, when we work very hard. So.
What do you make of the season so far? It's kind of been an up and down year. I realize that you guys are still a pretty young team. You've got a couple games in the conference play. What do you make of this team?
I think we may be up and down, but we're learning a lot. Because we are a young team, I think we're learning a lot about each other. It's hard to have like a lot of freshmen just come in, and then like we had to mix in and like figure out a lot of things, but we are, as freshmen, we're figuring it out. And I think the upperclassmen have been very helpful by like always asking us to hang out and always just like kind of being together as a team. And I think we're just like learning slowly what to do, and it's difficult, but you're learning and you figure it out as you keep going.
Right around the corner, Christmas, the holiday season is right around the corner. What do the holidays mean to you?
Family. I can't wait to go home and see them all, and like just the special little traditions that you have with your family. It's less and less about gifts and more about just being with them, I guess.
And finally, Chelsea, we always like to end the podcast with a random question of the week, and this time we have a holiday theme, so to speak. Your most memorable Christmas present?
Oh, I just remember one year my parents, they really went all out with gifts, and like it was like I had like an iPod, and like you got the Wii and stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, as I was younger, it was like all these gifts were so amazing. I remember coming downstairs.
Oh, so you were in heaven.
Oh, I was like, whoa, like stacked. I was like, let's go. My brother and I were so excited that day, but yeah, like I said, it's less and less about the gifts now and more about just like being with family.
All right, well, hey, thanks so much for joining us here on the podcast. Have a happy holiday.
You too.
That was Chelsea Pla joining us here on the second half of the Capital Women's Basketball Podcast for Capital Athletics. I'm Charlie Danis. We'll see you next time.